5 Strategies for Coaching Instructional Excellence, episode 540.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
So today we're talking with Sherry St. Clair, 20-plus year educator. Her book is Coaching Redefined, a guide to leading meaningful instructional growth. Sherry, today we're talking about 5 strategies for coaching instructional excellence. Now, first of all, who helps coach instructional excellence in the classroom?
So both the administrator and sometimes an instructional coach in school or a teacher leader in a school, all those can help to coach other teachers in the school towards instructional excellence.
So where do we start, Sherry?
There are several steps to coaching instruction, and this is such a complex topic that I think we have to consider really 3 big buckets. There's a piece about relationships, there's a piece about content, and then there's a piece about leadership skills. So as I'm working with instructional coaches, whether those be administrators or someone deemed as an instructional coach in the school, what I really try to do is to get them to move away from a model of that coach doing everything for the teachers to creating a school that's a true learning organization for professional learning. So start with relationships. We say this to teachers working with students in the classroom, and it's true for those instructional coaches as well. Start with relationships. You cannot lead well if you do not know those that you lead. And so interviewing students to ask them, how do you like school? What do you like about it? What can we do better for you? How can we serve you better? And then parents, asking them the same types of questions. Does your student like learning? Do they like going to school here? What issues do you see at home that we might not be aware of here? Talking to business leaders. Are we preparing students for the jobs that you have? If not, how can we do that better? How would you like to partner with us in that endeavor? And then teachers as well, just getting their feedback. How do you like working here? What are your obstacles to teaching here? How effective do you think you are being? Where are your strengths? Where can I help you grow? As an instructional coach, you are there to serve them. So that is step 1. And that's really a listening tour, just listening to all the stakeholders that you'll be serving.
Listening and building those relationships, and listening is certainly part of it, as well as acting upon what you learn. Okay, what's our second?
Yes. And so after you get those relationships built, then you want to get into the classrooms. And I say that as a very specific step, because it's one of those steps that as I work with coaches, they're kind of hesitant to do sometimes. Sometimes they are hired to be a coach of certain content that they've never taught. So they're a little bit fearful of even stepping in that classroom. But you can't help a teacher see potential that they might not see within themselves if you really don't get in there. So get in classrooms, see what's happening. You may only stay 1 minute the first time. You may stay 3 minutes the next time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Work up your time in that classroom, but get in there. You don't even have to give feedback those first times in your classroom. You're just getting the teacher used to you being in there. You're getting used to the students are getting used to you. It's another part of that relationship building process, but get in those classrooms so that you know what's happening and everybody can get comfortable with each other.
And that is so true, because if you only show up in the classroom once a year or maybe twice a year, it's just not a natural environment that you're observing. You're observing an environment with you in it, and you're a distraction.
And you're exactly right. Absolutely.
Okay, what's our third?
So after that, then you get to the part of co-creating a plan with teachers. This is not, again, the coach coming in and saying, you need to work on such and such. This is sitting down with the teacher, saying, how can I serve you? What is a strength? We want them to start with a strength and not a weakness. If you look at Daniel Pink's work on how do we motivate people, it's through their strengths, and we know those strengths overflow into other areas. So what do they want to work on? Develop that focused plan where they can focus on working on one certain area, and you together can then create a plan of what that might look like. That might look like some modeling. It might look like some research of topics together. It might look like going to other schools, visiting teachers, but creating a plan that's focused on just one area of growth based on a strength. And again, we're still in that relationship building part of coaching. All those pieces go into that relationship building piece.
When you co-create a plan with teachers, is this a plan to help improve their instruction, or is this an actual lesson plan? I'm assuming it's your instructional improvement.
It is your instructional improvement plan. And just like with students, no teacher is the same. They all need different plans. That differentiation part is so important to being respectful to teachers. Sometimes we want to go in and just lead one professional learning for all teachers without being respectful that we have teachers in so many different places. So creating this one plan for them, where you are focusing on that one area for them, they are focusing on that one area. It just personalizes their learning.
Okay, what's our fourth?
So the fourth is then when you start to dig into the content with them. When I'm coaching coaches on what to look for in the classroom, the thing that I had them ask themselves is, in this classroom, who's doing the work, who's doing the thinking, and what levels that work and what levels that thinking. And so when you are coaching teachers, you're also wanting them to think about those questions as they're designing their lessons. And then from there, then you can start bringing in some of John Hattie's work or the World Economic Forum skills that we know that students are going to need for the workplace, or the rigor piece, the relevance piece of ensuring that they have the right tools and that the work is meaningful to them, or the learner engagement piece. But this is where coaches will start to decide what content was it, or what goal did that teacher have, and then what content fits within that goal, and pull from those different areas. So one teacher might be working on one section of rigor, another teacher might be working on relevance. This is where it starts to get messy for coaches, because they do need to have that base of skills to grow in these different areas. But if they're just starting out, I start out with who's doing the work, who's doing the thinking, what levels that work and what levels that thinking, because we want students in classrooms doing the majority of the work and the majority of the thinking. We know that that's the skill set that they need for the future.
And of course, that varies by the day. So that's great that you have been part of a plan with the teacher so that you know what you're about to observe, for sure. Okay, what's our fifth?
That's right. And the fifth thing is then that I encourage my instructional leaders who are diving into coaching to get outside of the field of education. We are educators by choice, and we've been in education most of our lives, most of us. But there is this whole world that we could learn from the business world. Businesses go out of business if they don't add value to people's lives. So we can learn so much for coaching from the business world. So looking at business models and how do they motivate people? How do they cast visions? How do they encourage people to grow? How do they add value to the lives of others? How do they set up those organizational structures? So studying people like Liz Wiseman from Multipliers, Simon Sinek from Start with the Why, and looking at the way that companies become these learning organizations so that they can also serve their customers better, we can learn a world of information from that applies to coaching, that makes the leadership and the sustainability part of coaching much easier and flow much smoother and be much more sustainable.
Yes. And one thing that we can't forget is that successful businesses do have learning going on. So, we have to take it. I came from the business background. So some people will say, I guess they talk tough, but they have no idea that when you get into a classroom, you can't fire your students. You have to teach every single person that walks in the door. So we can take and learn from business, but we also have to take it and understand it is a different context. Okay, so Sherry, thank you for these 5. And the book is Coaching Redefined, a guide to leading meaningful instruction and growth. Thanks, Sherry.
Thank you so much.
So, teachers, today we're talking about coaching and relationships, and we do have to build relationships with colleagues. Now, my awesome principal has us following a strategy from some time ago called the fish principle. He was inspired by the fish throwing in Seattle, and it's such a great philosophy. But one of it is to have fun at work. So at my school, we started a fun committee. And I'm going to tell you what, we all went out to eat yesterday, and 25 of us ended up going together to the Mexican restaurant. It was so much fun. We had so many ideas. We were really there just to talk to each other, but we had so many ideas come out of that lunch. When you have informal times with people you work with, it makes a difference. So my challenge for you today is to build relationships with your colleagues. Have fun together. Appoint a fun committee like Dr. Doherty's done with my school. You can also go to coolcatteacher.com/thrive to take a look at 8 ideas to help your school and your new teachers thrive. That's your bonus material for this week. Hope you enjoy. Have an awesome weekend. My first day of school will be the day that this airs, first day of year 18, and I am so excited. I hope yours is going well too, and I'll talk to you next week.